We'll recommend run one we recommend to run one belt to get the required length, remove the belt from the printer and cut the second belt the exact same length. As both belt paths have the same length, easy way to get consistent tension. There you go. That's what we did. And with the consistent tension part of it, what I think works well there is basically we have our belt that we just cut, which is right here. And then we have our second belt. And we're going to basically notch the teeth together right there. And you can hold this at your fingers, or if you got a little zip tie, you can use a zip tie. I'm going to use a bigger zip tie because I don't know where smaller zip ties are. Pretty much any way you can hold these two belts together is fine. You just want to make sure that the teeth on the belts are kind of grooved into each other, like notched in. So that makes it so we can easily just take the belts now. If we hold them taut, as we do this, mesh the teeth together. As we move down, we should have the belts at the same length all the way. So if we move the belts down all the way to the end here, till we get to the end of our cut belt, we should have a longer section and a shorter section. So the shorter section should be the part that we cut. So since we know we cut the shorter section, and we need to just basically look back to see which one was the one that we started with. So you're going to cut one tooth beyond where you started with. So that way you have the exact length of the belt, because you'll have one tooth further on one side, one tooth shallow on the other side. So what you're going to case, we're going to this right there. And at the end of the day, it's honestly doesn't matter. It just makes it slightly easier to properly tension your belts, because you know where they should be around about in terms of length. So we have our two belts. They should be the same length now. Let's see here. Yeah, so we're going to reroute our belts one more time. So first things first is and I mentioned it before, you always want to keep your teeth on your belt facing towards parts that have teeth on them as well. So I like to start right here in the front, start with the gantry towards the middle, and kind of hold it like that. If you want, you can run a zip tie across this again to kind of hold it in place, or you can just kind of be a little ginger with it and hope that you don't pull it all the way through, which is fine too. Or you take a rubber band, you can do whatever you want. You can do anything. It's up to you. 100%. So we come across here on our gantry. We come to the front idler on this side. I'll remove it. See, we have a groove here that the belt's going to ride in. I'm going to take the flat part of the belt. I'm going to bring it across this idler, this bearing stack. I'm going to pass it through the hole that's on the other side. So it's doing this. And then just like tying your shoes, just going to run it through. Like so. That. And you're going to want to make sure you keep your belts in the same horizontal plane. That's pretty much a surefire way of telling whether or not you have your belt in the right location, because there are ways that you could run your belts that would be completely incorrect and still look semi-correct. But that horizontal plane is a big one. So Keeping them on the same horizontal plane across the entire printer and making sure that your teeth are where the tooth sections are. That should get you 90% of the way there. I'm gonna go ahead and spin this a little bit. So, and what I like to do is keep in mind that we can easily bypass things. When I say bypass things, I mean don't hesitate to come all the way across. Great examples right here. We came all the way out the back. This is not where we're going, but it makes it easy for us to make our next turn if we do it that way. So I'm going to come all the way back, going to go back through. There's a hole here in the front. Hopefully I have a camera picking that up somewhat. So basically I'm just lacing the shoes. That. And then I'm going to utilize this hole on the top. If we get around our drive here, I'm going to actually pass the loop, right here on the back, across this way. And I'm going to pull my belt through like that. And now I have this the way it should be. So basically it's all zigzag through there, but we made straight lines, straight pass-throughs every single time to get where we need it to be. So now we come across to the other side here. Again, we're keeping the same horizontal plane. I'm just going to pass it all the way across to the front of the gantry. And hold it like that. Spin this around. And we can see where we're at right now. Come up. Pull that belt over. And I'm just going to push it down a little bit, like so. And then it should come out roughly at the same level that we went into. And by roughly, I mean it should be exact, but there you go. Obviously it's not tightened up, so we have one side of this done. I kind of center this a little bit. Belt's good. We're going to do the same with the opposite side. So this time around, we're going to start over here. We're going to get this done. And what I like to do here, if you get caught inside of your extrusion, just look down. It's pretty easy. Pull it around. Going to be pretty much the same as what we just did, but in reverse. Gonna pull this over here. Pull this one off. Gonna loop it through. And then make sure I keep the back where the back is. And then push that back through here. That. Right now there's nothing really holding it there, so I'm gonna be careful. But we're gonna take this one, and just like we did before, we're gonna make sure we keep it properly oriented. And we're gonna pass it all the way through to the back side. We should be able to. There we go. We're hitting on something. What are we hitting on? We'll be hitting on the extrusion on the back just a little bit. So going to pass through eventually. There you go. Pull that through, work that down there, spin this thing around. This time we're going to be here on the top. So we're going to do the same thing we did before. We're going to pass this through. And if we're really good, we might be able to pass it through like that, right straight to the top. Then around. I'm going to pass the loop towards the back here again. As soon as we get around that stepper, I don't want to pinch the belt too much, but around like so, and then there should be a loop for us to grab here. That. Pull that back through the back. And then we're probably going to be in the wrong place for a second, but we'll work this belt back up. There we go. And down across the back side. And back towards the front. So it's really loose right now. We'll come back to this once we have this tightened up. You can see what that looks like. And now we're going to come back towards the front side here. And before we do that, I'm going to pass this through. Like so. Put this back where we got it. Those like that. Grab these. Let's get it roughly where we want it. I think that counts. Roughly. All right. So now, I'm not going to move too much, but everything seems to be where it needs to be. So the first thing we want to do once we get to this point is loosen up our front idlers. Mine are already loosened up. We'll loosen up this one a little bit further. So when we tension our belts, this is our primary, well, our only real way of tensioning our belts on our gantry. So if we loosen them up all the way, that means when we basically put things together now, if we make them so they're relatively tight, when we need to tighten them up, we have plenty of play here to actually do that tightening. So make sure you loosen these up before you move further. So a little bit different. Now, normally on the X gantry that you'd have here, you'd have a printed X-carriage that would be going on there, or you'd have a Voron tap. This is a plastic printed tap, or you'd have a CNC tap or something like that, but we're using the actual Vitali. What's cool about this is, one, it's super lightweight, so milled aluminum. Two is it basically is built to have a beacon attached to the bottom side of it. So the beacon's actually going to go right on the bottom of this once it's all put together. So this is going to allow us to basically remove quite a bit of depth in terms of our X-carriage. It's going to remove some weight, and it's also going to be custom kind of to get that beacon straight on there. So the first thing I want to do when I put this on is I'm going to put my belts on it first, and I'm just going to pass them through like so. And again, I'm keeping them belted where the oh, that one's kind of, what's going on here? what happened here. Yeah, that way. And then this one will come in. What did I do? I have a belt that's twisted. Yeah, so this came through. Something's going on back here. So right here, I have a twist right in the back. Happens to the best of us. The way I noticed it is because the belt was not the way I needed it. So come back through. Make sure you only have your teeth on the sections that have actual teeth on them. Come back through, run it through. Fix the problem before it becomes one. All right, so we'll work this through. Now everything looks right. This belt's about the same length. There's in the center. And back to our Vitaly. All right, so now that makes way more sense. Because the belt should be facing, so the grooves on the belts are actually face towards where the belts are going to be folding into them. So we want to make sure we keep our tops on our tops and our bottoms on our bottoms here. Like so. And I want to get these roughly the same length. I'll put my carriage here in the center. And the first thing I'm going to do is put, I already got a little thread locker on these, but I want to put a couple of these screws in place. Don't want to tighten them down because just the force of having this on the carriage is going to help hold those belts in place. Find that hole, line it up. There we go. And I just want to get a couple threads. 2 or 3 threads in there is all I want. And then I'm going to get the other crisscross across from that one. And again, just a couple of threads. And the reason I want to do that, it's going to help me do what I need to do now. So now what I want to do is we want to get these belts close to equal on both sides. Because we know we cut them equally. So we should now be able to get them equal. Right now it looks like this side needs to come in just a smidgen, so I'm going to release that one, pull that one, and then we're pretty close on there. Like that. These two are way off. I'm going to release this one some, pull this one forward, pull that one back, and I need to pull this one, pull it again, and let's see, I think we overshot it. Did we overshoot it? Just a smidge. That's good. That's good as well. Okay, so there we have that. So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm just going to semi-tighten these. I'm not gonna put them all the way down. Get those two on there. Let's get the other 2. And again, I already put thread locker on these. Just gonna tighten them down. So they're close to tight. Not quite tight. Now they're all 4 of them in there. I'm gonna go ahead and put that one there. That one. Come over to this one. And then finally do this one over here. So you can get a little more out of it. Yep. All right, and then since this is one of those parts that you rarely have to take off ever again, unless you choose to, you go ahead and give this a nice little additional pinch in terms of tightening it down. So there we have that. Okay. Last step we have is putting on our actual belt holders. And these are the actual parts that hold the belts. And the majority of the tension that's holding the belts isn't the actual clamp that's going down, but the belts themselves. Just the process of them going around that sharp bend, that 90-degree bend, give or take, is what's holding the belts in. This is just retaining that. I want to make sure we keep them relatively in place. This counts. There we go. Okay, I'm going to leave these long, but I will make one note that you'll never. People tend to say that they're going to leave their belts long so they have room for adjustment. Leave your belts long so you have room to take things apart and put them back together without struggling. So I would leave like an extra, maybe an extra centimeter at most, maybe 5 millimeters is where I'd be most comfortable. But here's the thing: you'll never have to have additional belt because your belts shrunk. The belts do not shrink. The belts stretch. So you don't have to do that. But now we basically need to take a look at things and make sure we have everything where we want it. The first thing I like to do is move everything around. Belts are extremely loose right now because we have not tensioned them at all. We can get all tension we want out of our tensioners when that time comes. Got plenty there. Actually, I'm going to give them a little bit so that we're not causing ourselves some issues. But basically, I like to move it around. So on a front to back motion like this, you'll see both of the motors moving in opposite directions. You go from side to side, they move in the same direction. You move at a 45-degree angle, one will move and the other one will not. Depending on which angle it is, will depend on which motor is moving. So all those movements look right, the motor's moving in the right direction, so we now can look at our belts, make sure they're all on the same horizontal plane, make sure they're all riding properly inside of the areas they need to be riding. On the back side here, they line up, they're the opposite of each other, they're nice, they're neat. We know they're around the motors properly because we just tested that. And there we go. That's my way of belting.